Okay, thanks for joining. So today we are going to go over the Modern Work Scorecard data and understanding how to download it and read it. So we're going to get to that scorecard from the home dashboard. We'll come here to membership, solutions partner overview. And here we've got that Modern Work Scorecard. We're going to be today only looking at is SMB. So here in SMB, you will see, if we scroll down, here are your 5 metrics. I will be walking through downloading the data on the net customer adds, the deployment, and the usage growth. So each of these metrics have a view details. When you click on the view details, you've got all of the information that you need to understand the scorecard, including the data. And when you download that data, Microsoft makes that available. So if you've got a score or you even got 0, there's some data in there, and it's important to understand. So now let's skip through a few things and let's go right to the net customer adds. So the example that we have today is a scorecard with 4 points in customer adds. And so when you download the data, it's going to look something like this. I've had to modify the data for privacy, so you'll see some X's and customers renamed. But when you come in here, the first thing you're going to see is these little errors. You're going to clean up the data first. So highlight column F, and then from the menu, you're going to choose data and text to columns, then click finish. You'll do the same for column G. Then we will highlight all of the columns and sort the data. Let's sort it first by customer tenant name, then by month name, and then finally by workload name. And select OK. Now the data that's here is organized. So you can see the tenant ID number, the customer tenant name, the partner attach type. So you'll see here CSP Tier 2, but if you have any other associations with the end customer, it will list here also. You've got the eligible workload name, you've got the month name, and so with customer adds, or actually all of the data in the Modern Work, it's going to be comparing the most recent month, and in this case, it's February 2025, and comparing it to the same time a month ago, so February 2024. So all the data here is February 2024 and February 2025. Column F is your active usage. This is the monthly active usage, so that's the number of users that are engaged and working in that workload. Column G is the qualified licenses, so that's how many paid licenses across all subscriptions in that workload. Okay, so we've got this data all organized, and we can see the very first customer as an example. So customer 1, they have, we have data for them in February 2024, but not February 2025. That means we've lost them. They're gone. This is a loss. This will negatively impact the scorecard. The next customer, customer number 10, it looks like we had them in February, only February 2025. So that means they're new. That is contributing to our scorecard. Customer 11, they look like we had them last year in February 2024, and again this year in February 2025. So that's a wash. We had them last year, we have them this year. It's a wash. Now, it may be a lot of work to kind of scroll through this whole spreadsheet like this. So let's put this into a pivot table. So from the menu, we're going to choose Insert and Pivot Table. Then from Data Range, you will click OK. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to build this pivot table. We're going to grab the customer tenant name field and drag it down to rows. We'll grab the month name, drag it down to columns, and then we'll just take the qualified usage and drag that to values. So what we're looking for here is to count the number of unique customers who were eligible in 2024. And this number, when I highlight all of this, shows me down here 14. So let me write that down, 14. And then in 2025, that number shows a count of 16. So we had 2024, 14 unique customers. In 2025, we had 16. So 16 minus 14 is 2. We have 2 net new customer adds. And therefore, the points are going to equal 2 points per customer add. So 4 points. That's how you figure out the customer add score for modern work. Now, this number should match up with what you have in the scorecard. If it doesn't, it could actually be the tenant name that you want to switch that out in the field to the tenant ID. So that's it for now for customer adds. Now let's scoot over to the deployments file. What we want to do is clean up this data here first. So let's do that. Okay, so we've got the downloads file here. You can see for privacy information, there's some things missing or been modified. And first thing we need to do is kind of clean up this data. So again, let's highlight column E. From the menu, choose data and then text to columns, and then do that again for all of these fields. Okay. And then let's do a sort. So sort, we're going to do customer tenant name, then we're going to do month name, and then we'll do workload name. And that's it. Okay. And then let us, with this information, we are going to insert a pivot table. And we're going to build the same pivot table we did for customer adds. So we're going to drag that customer tenant name down to rows, month name to columns, and we'll just take the active growth to values. So here, same kind of calculation. We are looking for the total number of unique customers, and that number is 10. So 10 unique customers in 2024. And we're going to check it for 2025, and it also says 10. And so 10 minus 10 is 0, and that's why we have 0 deployments in our scorecard. So we can see by looking at this data that in this customer here, customer 1, they counted in 2024, but not in 2025. It's probably because we lost them or their score went down. So I'm just going to mark this as a red. I'm going to mark this one here also. Oops, make that wrong. This one is actually a green. This is a positive. This one here is a positive. This one is a positive. This one here is negatively affecting the score, and this one here is negatively affecting the score. So we've got customer 1, 16, and 5 that are negatively affecting the score because we had them in 2024, but not in 2025. And we've got 3 customers who we had in 2025, but not in 2024 that are positively. So let's compare this deployments with the customer ads. So this one here is the customer ads, and let me grab that deployments again, and we'll make it a little bit smaller. And what I should have done with the customer ads is same color coding. So this one is red, the customer one is red because that is a loss. Customer 8 is a loss. Customer 10 and customer 7 are gains. Customer 5 is a gain, and customer 9 is a gain. Okay, and let's go back to the deployment. So if we look at this, so the one on the left is the customer ads file that we put into a pivot table. The one on the right is the deployments that we put into a pivot table. Right off the bat, there is customers missing from the deployments. Okay, and they're missing because they didn't make the 40% usage qualification. They obviously met the eligibility that they're here in the customer ads. So we want to kind of go through this and see which ones are missing. And if we eyeball this, like I can see right now, customer 12 is missing. Customer 12 is here, but not here. Now customer 1 is a negative here, so that makes sense that they would be a negative here. Customer 10 is a positive here. I see them as a positive here. That is great. Same with 15. Customer 7 is positive, but customer 9 is a positive, but they're not showing in here. And so now this is where we need to kind of go back to the customer ads data and try and identify why are they not there. And I know it's because of they're missing the 40% usage, but let's identify which of those workloads. So let's close this deployments, and we're going to come back to this raw data for the customer ads. And I'm going to create a new pivot table and insert pivot table. And this time we're going to do customer tenant name down to rows, month name down to columns, and we're going to take the active usage and the qualified usage down to values. Now, because I'm going to be manipulating this data and creating a formula, we'll have to copy it and put it into a new worksheet tab. Okay, and to figure out the usage, it is literally the total active usage divided by the total qualified usage. And so when we do that, this customer here, we know they're gone, right? Customer 1, we had already identified that. Customer 2 was contributing to your scorecard, and they have a usage of 49%, so that's great. But right here, we can see somebody below 40%. So these ones here that are below 40% are the customers that you need to improve their usage so that they can contribute to your deployment score. So these are your immediate opportunities to increase deployments. And if we were to look at these customers one by one, so let's say customer 12. So we'll go back to this. Let's add a filter here so we can specifically isolate customer 12. So here's customer 12. And if I was to come here and total that active usage, total that qualified usage, again, let's apply that formula, total active divided by total qualified. Let's add that as a percentage, and we have 0.9%. So what did we have here? Customer 12 said 1.3. What am I missing? Oh, I know what I'm missing. Sorry. I have here 2024 and 2025. So let's undo 2024. We only want 2025 data. Okay. So customer 12, we can see, honestly, all of their workloads, all of them are so low. So you've got in Exchange one active user out of 214 licenses. Um, 6 active users, over 120, 142 licenses. So that's low. Something's going on here. I'm not sure what. Definitely this needs to be investigated. Now let's look at another example. Customer 16, they're so close. They're at 38.7%. So like a percent and a bit would bring them over that threshold to count. So if we look at customer 16, their usage in Exchange is okay. It could use improvement. It's only half. Intune for sure. Even M365 apps, it's less than half, or it's about half, a little more than half. SharePoint is less than half. Teams is less than half. Teams meetings, those are all opportunities to increase the active usage. If we look at customer 17, we'll highlight these in yellow so we don't forget them. Customer 17. Let's see. Oh, definitely. They have a lot of licenses. Their Exchange is low. Their apps is good. They have 72 out of 35. SharePoint is low. Teams and Teams meeting is low. Now, SharePoint, or sorry, the M365 apps, I see this a lot where active usage is more than qualified usage. My understanding is that is because with M365 apps, you're allowed to log into like 5 different devices. So, this could be a user, much like myself, where they've got the apps on their phone, they're using it on the web, they're using it in their desktop. Maybe they're even going back and forth between other workstations. I've been guilty to do that from my home laptop to my home PC. So those things could definitely drive up the usage. But the opportunity here is for sure that these people aren't using all of this Exchange and Teams. So I cannot tell you why. You'd have to really look into it with the customer, but all I can tell you is where you need to improve. And this is where you would need to improve in this example. Your data may look very different. And then we, again, go through all of these customers one by one. I know that seems painful, but it is important. And here, we're so close. We're sitting at 31.8%, but definitely same culprits here. SharePoint, Exchange, Teams, and Teams meeting. Okay, so that's the insights you want to drive. You know, you're using deployments to figure out who's missing, but then at the same time, you want to go back to the customer ads to identify who you need to increase usage, because these customers, customer 12, customer 16, 17, 4, 5, and 9, don't show up here. Okay. And then the last metric, the file we want to look at, is the downloads data. So this is the downloads, for the usage growth. Same thing here, we're going to clean this up. So from the menu data, text to columns, let's do that again here. And for each of these, And now this one is going to be the easiest to work with because we really only need to work with these two. Okay, but I am going to sort the data. So let's do data sort, and I'm going to sort it by customer tenant name, then by current month name, and we want baseline months. There we go, and say okay. And here we're going to literally go right down to the bottom, and we're going to add this. And then we're going to add this. So the formula is the total current usage, which is this number, minus the total previous usage, which is that number, equals 6,104. So to get maximum points in CSP, you need at least 2,000 points or 2,000 increase in active usage. And in CPOR, you would need a total active increase of 500. So if I didn't say this earlier with all of these reports, specifically for the deployments and the usage growth, when you download the data, if you've got CPOR in here, you'll need to separate them into two separate files because Microsoft calculates CSP and CPOR separately. You do not need to do that for the customer ads. So you've got, this one is a great example. There's nothing here to improve. They probably have maximum points. But if we were to look at like, who are the ones that are contributing to these points, we can definitely see here, this customer, let me do green instead. This customer here, customer 10, they're new in 2025. We didn't have them in 2024, so they are increasing the usage growth quite a bit. This customer here is decreasing the usage because we've got zeros under current. We've got all this previous usage. So again, here, those customer losses hurt your score. The customer gains help your score. If we look at an existing customer that's been around, like say customer 11, so customer 11 in 2025 had a total active usage of 759. And then in 2024, they had 716. So that is an increase. It's a slight increase, but it's still a positive increase. And so for this customer, if you wanted to look at existing customers and where can you increase usage, this would be an example. They're not using Viva. Maybe that's potential. 225 license. Viva could be, you could build a case for Viva. Teams meetings look like there's still room for improvement. Teams also, SharePoint, there's room for improvement. So that's an existing customer that if you were to do some kind of trainings with them or programs, adoption training to help increase usage, that will help those numbers. Okay, and that's it for me today. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll try to do some more of these walkthroughs for everyone.